Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Half Hour. I am so excited for today's guest. I always say that I'm excited for today's guest, but I'm so excited for today's guest. I met her through my connections at New World Library, and I saw the cover of her newest book, Say It Out Loud, and I was like obsessed. And then I started following her on Instagram, and I became even more obsessed. Then I asked to interview her. So, Vasavi, thank you so much for coming on the Empowered Half Hour.
Thank you so much, Becca, for having me. I love being here with you, and I can't wait to get the conversation started.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. Well, I would like to read your bio just so the audience can get to know you a little bit more professionally, and then we're just going to dive right in.
Okay.
All right. Vasavi Kumar is often described as the queen of saying it out loud, a first-generation Indian immigrant raised on Long Island, New York. Vasavi has recently searched to find her own voice, access the freedom of her creative spirit. I love that you just said creative spirit in your bio. That resonates so deeply with me. And help others along the way. Say it out loud. When she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at the age of 19, she made it her life's purpose to understand how her mind works, starting with making room to hear herself think. Her mission is to share everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, in order to teach a more mindful practice and a simple way of running every aspect of your life. You're a woman after my own heart. Like some of these things I say myself too. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy that the bio resonates. It's just important to me that people feel seen and heard through my story. So thank you.
Yes. Before we go into the interview itself, just the creative spirit really called out to me because I think all of us have a creator within. And not everyone acknowledges that. You know, we're so stuck on, is that word professional enough or is that word understood? And I think for me, hearing creative spirit in your bio just calls to my soul and automatically brings me to a place of expansion. So that's why I stopped to mention that. But I would love to hear more about your story. You just came out, your book's coming out, it just started shipping to some people, but it comes out May 16th, correct?
Yep, May 16th.
That's awesome. And it's called Say It Out Loud. I would love to hear a little bit about your backstory of what prompted you to write this book.
What prompted me to write this book? Well, originally, when I was looking for agents for my book proposal, the original book proposal that I had, I was going through a breakup. So the book proposal was very angry, and it was all about how women need to stay single. And it was all about how we're just waiting for people to save us, waiting for our partners to save us. Because I was going through a breakup. It was a very angry proposal. That's the truth. And so I was rejected by, it's the truth. That's how I'm going to share with you guys how the book came to be. So I was rejected by 7 agents. Okay. And the first agent that rejected me, she rejected my proposal. And then she saw me on IG Live through a mutual friend. And so she reached out to our mutual friend and she was like, who is this woman on your IG Live? Meaning me. And my friend was like, you rejected her proposal. And she's like, oh my God, I got to meet her. So me and my agent, the one that I actually really wanted to represent me, Wendy Sherman, who's now my agent, she got on the phone with me and she goes, listen, I really like you. I really do not like your book proposal, though. I just feel like it's you telling women to stay single. And I think you're just writing from pain right now. And I said, well, yeah, I'm like angry and jaded and cynical. This was back in the beginning of early 2021. Yeah. So what she had heard me say on this IG Live, I was asked the question, Vasavi, do you journal? I said, no, I don't journal. I say it out loud. And she goes, what do you mean? I go, well, I talk to myself, different parts of myself, and I respond back. And I let those parts of me respond back. I'm not just one person. I have many different parts to me. All my parts make up this one person, right? But we have many different personalities and parts to us. And each of those parts have a unique voice. And so it doesn't hurt that I have bipolar disorder too. My mind moves very quickly than the average person. So I have many different thoughts and voices that come very quickly. Of course, I've learned how to slow my mind down, but the way that I've learned to slow my mind down is by saying it out loud and talking back to the voices in my head so they don't take up all this space inside of my head. So my agent was like, okay, I heard you say it out loud. Tell me more about that. I go, yeah, well, we all have different parts to us. And we got to learn how to talk to the different parts of us. Otherwise, we're just abandoning parts of ourselves. And no wonder we feel fragmented. So she goes, okay, this could be a book concept. This could be a book. And so then we shopped it to New World Library. And the managing editor, Georgia, and I and Wendy all got on a Zoom and we brainstormed my book out loud. And that's how the book came to be. Yeah.
I love that it brainstormed out loud too, just reinforcing that through line right
Mm-hmm.
there. That's so cool. And I'm a big fan of mantra and affirmations, and not like light-hearted affirmations, just saying something, but when you're getting into the truth, like I have been doing personal growth work for since 2006, and I can remember there was a time where I was raising my kids. They were really little. I was paycheck to paycheck. I also say that I was piss ass poor because that's just the truth of it. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember driving in my car and like, I'm a six-figure earner. And like, I would say
Mm-hmm.
it with like, and that's like before Bluetooth
Mm-hmm.
was even around. This is a long time ago. And I would just be
Yeah.
screaming in my car. I didn't care if anybody saw me. And I can just attest that there's a power when you're really saying it out loud and from a place of truth to yourself. And like you said, you're allowing yourself to speak back, which I think is really cool.
Well, you can't really lie to yourself when you say it out loud. You can lie to yourself in your head all you want, but you can't really lie to yourself out loud because your
That's
body
true.
feels it when you're lying.
Yeah. And I love that you just brought in the body too, because the body, I always says there's the book, The Body Keeps the Score, but it basically
Mm-hmm.
says like 80% of what we really feel and know are in the body and 20% is mind. So when you say it out loud, you're going to have a visceral reaction.
Reaction. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And your body's going to tell you whether it's truth or not, or good
That's
for
right.
you or bad for
Mm-hmm.
you. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. What I'd like to ask next is you talked a little bit about maybe some of the challenges you faced in sending the initial proposal, but what did you have to overcome to get to the point of writing a book and wanting to share this message with people?
Oh man, I had to stop doing hurtful shit to myself. That was number one. I mean, I'm not
Sure.
saying that you can't write a book without hurting yourself, but as I was writing the book, there were so many times that I was like, I felt what people call a writer's block. And what I realized was really writer's block for me was just I wasn't being kind to myself in certain areas of my life.
Mm,
Here I am teaching my reader to be kind and compassionate. And every time I was stopped at a certain chapter, it's because I was BSing myself somewhere or I wasn't practicing my own advice. And so I'd walk away from the chapter and I would convene with myself to see what I needed to do to close up any gaps internally so I could keep writing. But on the personal front, from the time I was born, I mean, I was raised in an all-white town, being the one of only two Indian families. I'm a first-generation Indian immigrant. I didn't fit in at school because my name was Vasavi, and my mom used to pack Indian food that smelled like curry and put coconut oil in my hair and braid it. I mean, it's why I have very nice hair, but like kids at school are vicious. They'd be like, your food smells. Your father probably works at 7-Eleven, which he didn't. Both my parents are white collar professionals. Not that there's anything wrong with working at 7-Eleven, but that's just the kind of stuff I had to listen to growing
yeah.
up. I became
Unfortunate.
acutely aware of how different I was from a young age. So I created an alter reality for me to survive, a reality where I was either better than other people or less than other people. But I never really quite felt at home within myself. And we all do what we need to do to cope. But it's taken me a really long time. I'm 40 now. Only at 40 do I actually feel I know who I am and I like who I am. And I'm still learning every day things about myself. I still have young parts of me that I talk to and I work to repair and rebuild trust with.
Sure.
But some of the things that I've been through in my life that have really stuck with me in my body that I've had to work and process through is definitely stuff from childhood. My mother
Sure.
was extremely critical of me. In fact, I don't really remember, other than my father, being celebrated for who I was. It's like my mere existence was a burden.
Mm.
My mere existence was bad. Even now, the book coming out is so weird to me how so many people are saying the kindest things to me. And I'm like, y'all need to understand, I was not given this much praise as a child growing up. So I'm like, it's coming all at once. I feel smothered with affection, but I need it. I need this. We all need this in our
Sure.
life, to know, but it feels weird. So that's kind of how I was as a child. It wasn't easy for me as a child, just like it wasn't for many of us, like I didn't really feel at home. And because I didn't feel at home in my own home, I started to do things to fit in. Like when I was 12 years old, I started smoking my first cigarette. I smoked my first cigarette at 12 years old.
Guilty.
You too? Yeah,
Yeah.
because I wanted to
Mhm.
fit in with the cool girls. And I remember thinking to myself, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm hurting myself. I'm hurting myself. Like I knew I was hurting myself. And I just did it because that's what you do to survive. That's what you do to
Yes.
survive. You do what you can. You fit in. And that's when I really kind of split off from myself, the bipolarity within. I split off from myself. I had one reality at school, I had one reality at home. And I just talked to myself a lot as a kid. I was very lonely as a child, very lonely. I was either getting yelled at or hit or coddled by my father. Yeah, just cried a lot as a child alone. And I would talk to myself and I'd say, "You're going to be okay." I talked to myself all the time. And then it didn't get any easier. High school, experimented with drugs and went away to college. Didn't have that kind of freedom ever because I grew up in an immigrant household. It was pretty strict. But I went to school and I went buck wild. Like I started using cocaine all the time. I started using ecstasy. Like I'm academically very intelligent, but I graduated sophomore year with a 1.3.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Hmm.
And my mother was like, "I think you need to transfer home." So I transferred home back to Long Island, New York, and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 19. And they put me on a cocktail of meds. I was actually very relieved after I got diagnosed with the bipolar disorder because I knew that my behavior was very out of character. I was very hypersexual, very promiscuous, drinking and using all the time. My grades sucked, spending money erratically. So I was kind of relieved when I got a diagnosis because I knew that my behavior was not representative of how I knew I should be. And I don't mean should be like based on what my mom and
You
dad
should
tell
be
me.
that. Yes,
Yeah, but it
understood.
was more like I was raised with rock solid values. Okay. My parents did a very good job of raising me in terms of values, like how we treat people, how we treat
Hmm.
others, and being decent human beings, really looking out for the other person. But we were not taught how to love ourselves. I don't think any of us are. We're taught how to look out for others and care about others and not really taught how to love ourselves. So it's taken a very, when I say a long time, not that there's any sort of yardstick or clock, but yeah, I mean, from 19 to 40, 21 years. I've had to learn multiple lessons over and over again, or some for the first time. Like when I got divorced, when I was 31, I got married, and then I immediately got into another relationship, knowing damn well I shouldn't have. But the
Sure.
sex was really good, and he was 8 years younger, and he opened up a part of me literally that I was like, damn, I didn't know this part of me existed. But like, you're not supposed to live with your rebound for 4 years and then end up going to rehab because of that. You're supposed to have sex with your rebound and then be done with
And
it.
then move on.
But this was the rebound that lasted way too long. And I ended up in rehab. And I wasn't using drugs. Like when I was married to my husband, I was not using drugs. I mean, he was a nice Indian man. Okay. Drugs was like a college thing. And then I got married and I thought I got my shit together. But then after I got divorced, I met this much younger man who was straight out of rehab. And we started using together 1 day a week, then 2 days a week. And I was making six figures. So I was like, well, I'm doing good. I'm making money. I'm fine. 1 day a week, 2 days a week. But
Justifying it. Yeah.
but cocaine is one hell of a drug and it really helped me focus. It served as like an Adderall for me, except it was a very expensive drug. But I had the money for it. I had the money and I had the lifestyle and everything seemed okay. And so when it kept getting worse, like 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 days a week, just taking a few breaks in between so I could rest my nose, it got really bad. It got terrible. I still have flashbacks sometimes and I have to talk myself through it. And a lot of suppressed memories of mine came up and were purged out of me during the book writing process. I really wanted to write in a way that it wasn't about me in the book, it was about my reader. And so I had to purge a lot of my own stuff to be a
Sure.
clear conduit to write for my readers. So here I am today, celebrated 4 years sobriety from cocaine, March 27th. Thank you. And the book is coming out. I'm back in therapy every other week. I'm on mood stabilizers. I decided to get back on bipolar meds April 1st of this year. We're not giving any medical advice to anyone. It's just really a matter of do what
Yeah,
do
do
what
what
you
feels
need.
right to you. Yeah, I have much different of a childhood, but there are some similarities in what you're saying that I'm
Mhm.
relating to. So I'm a redhead, and I just say
Yeah.
that because I was a natural born outcast. Like I was different. I got called spaghetti head, carrot top, freckle face. I look different from everybody. So, and in addition to that, I'm high energy. So
Hmm.
often at home, I was too much for my mom, especially. So I got sent to my room and I spent a lot of time by myself when I
Hmm.
wasn't at school or playing sports. I used sports as kind of like my way out. But two,
Hmm.
my parents were musicians when I was born, and they were very much like the stereotypical like sex, drugs, rock and roll, had a great time. Like my childhood was really cool. But on the other side, there was always just things going on. I can't say that. A lot of times I felt like I didn't have enough presence. So I found my belonging in friends and started smoking when I was 12 or 13 and started smoking pot and then
Hmm.
I did dabble with cocaine too in college, and I'm not an uppers person. I'm so uppy anyway that I ended up
Hmm.
having like a somewhat comical now in hindsight, but I actually did have a minor suicidal attempt, I say. And I
Yeah.
say that because looking back, I drank like a 2 liter of like Mountain Dew and took like 20 Advil, which
Wow.
isn't really enough to kill anybody,
Yeah, but still.
but it's just like that. And so then I was probably in that age of 19, 20 when that happened. And that's when I was like, I don't think drugs are for me. Not very
That's
good at
good.
this.
That's good that you learned that. Yeah, at that
Yeah.
age.
hmm So I was very transparent about that too in my book. But since you shared, I wanted to say, like, hey, I have my own stories. And so I can really relate. And I'm sure the listeners can relate too that, like you said, we all have these different aspects of us. We're also multifaceted. We have different desires, different parts of ourselves that are wounded, and some parts that aren't wounded and that are
Mhm.
very vibrant and alive. And I just appreciate the rawness of your share because I think that the listeners will appreciate it too. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
that.
Yeah.
What I want to go into next is now that you're through this process, you've written your book, you've got to purge a lot of your stuff out during that process. What's an aha that's up for you right now?
Oh, I'm noticing how uncomfortable it is to be this visible.
I
It's
went through
re-
the same thing.
I'm like, all these people know me. All these people think they know me. Just because you see an Instagram post that I share that I was diagnosed and I was arrested, you don't know me. You know what I
hmm
tell you. But it's actually making me want to be even closer to myself and be even more boundaried with who I let in because people think they know you and then they think they have access to you. And because I wrote a book called Say It Out Loud, now everyone wants to say everything out loud to me. And I'm like, no, I'm not the person you say it out loud to. You need to talk to yourself.
right.
So that's how
You're
I
like,
feel.
that's the goal of the book is that you say it out loud to yourself.
And people really feel like they have access to you. They think people feel entitled to you. They feel entitled to you and your energy. And it's like, no, you're not. You don't have access to me. You have access to what I let you have access to, you know? And so the big aha for me is being even more clear with my boundaries, being even more clear with saying it out loud. I had a friend the other day who asked me a favor and I said, I can't do it. I said, I can't. Yeah, I'm like, just know everything is when people are reaching out, hey, do you want to grab coffee? Everything is after May 16th. Don't bother me until the book comes out. And I told this to everyone up front. If I'm not returning your calls, if it has nothing to do with the marketing of my book, do not expect a response back.
Yeah.
Period. If
And
you
I
are not
think
trying
that's
to,
fair. Anybody who's ever had a
yeah,
launch, like you're all in until that
yeah.
baby's over. So good for
Mm.
you.
And I will say, even after the book comes out, right? The book comes out May 16th. I'm still promoting even a month, 2, 3 months. I mean, it's not going away
It's
anytime
not.
soon.
I
Yeah.
am a year and a half after releasing my book and I'm still promoting. Not
Yeah.
nearly at the level of
Yeah.
the launch, but yeah, I'm still.
The other aha for me, Becca, that what a great question. I realize with so many of my clients that I work with, because I'm a licensed therapist, the conversation that I have with my clients is always about the conversation in their head. And so I'm like, wait a minute. Anyone who wants to work with me has to read the book, say it out loud first, because I realize for me, I don't want to do that type of work anymore. I don't want to talk to you about the voices in your head. I need you to talk to yourself about the voices in your head. And so I'm like, wow, I have a body of work. And it's a great way to also filter out in this next season of my life, like the type of clients that I want to work with. Like, I don't want to be a therapist and a coach. I want to be a trainer. Like, I know how to train people really well. Even writing this book, putting it out. I don't know if you're this type of artist. I'm the kind of artist, Becca, once the project is done, I'm on to the next. It's like, because I love the journey. I love the process. I loved the playing the John Mayer in the background or some jazz music and lighting the candle and having a nice beverage or ice water with lemon and writing my book. I like that part. I like the cocooning part aspect. But the book
hmm
is done and out. I mean, it's going to be out. And so I'm like, what's the next project? And so I have to remind myself, girl, you still got to keep going. We are not on to the next. It's like having a baby and say, okay, when's baby number two? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. I want to be present during this process. So that's another
Yeah, no,
aha.
I
Yeah.
get that too. I'm a creative and I love writing. I love speaking. I think any form of self expression for me is my jam. I've even made yoga shirts with like I am affirmations on them
Yes.
because I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, whatever wants to go, wants to go. But I did have my business coach once tell me, she was like, Becca, you need to squeeze more lemon out of your lemons before you go on. So, yeah, I've had to learn how to do that too. All right, so let's go into the next. You sound so passionate about this, and I can feel it. It's palpable. But why are you so passionate about this work?
Let me read something, okay? From the acknowledgement section. Let me read it. To my late uncle, Lakshmi Kumar, who took his life, I wish you had known how to talk to the voices in your head. Maybe then you would still be alive. Your suicide showed me what would happen if I didn't learn how to be kinder to myself. Your death saved my life. I will honor the life that you could have lived by continuing to share your story.
Wow. I have the goosebumps and I just want to honor that and then relate to it. Also, I've lost both my parents separately. I lost my mom when I was 23 and my dad when I was 35, both to complications with prescription medicine. And I'm getting teary. I was like, was not expecting that. So thank you for the vulnerability. But I recently came to my own conclusion that really what they died of was depression and not having the tools to cope. And so, like, hearing you say that, like, by saying it out loud, maybe that does save someone's life. And that's why I get really passionate about my work too. I feel like depression is really a disconnection from the soul. And I'm so passionate. I love tapping into potential, playing with the unlimited. And I'm like, wow, if more people could feel that part of themselves, maybe they wouldn't struggle so much.
I'm not going to say here that my book will stop someone
Nah.
from taking their life, but the fact is, if it was a safer place inside of our head, then our minds wouldn't attack us. My mind still does attack me. I have very loud, intrusive thoughts since I've been on medication, which is a very personal decision. I mean, this past month has been amazing being on medication. Like, my mind is a much quieter place. It's not a battlefield anymore for me. And so my point is, you do what you got to do to keep your sanity. Okay. And don't hurt yourself. You know, I was in toxic relationships and was using substances because it was a familiar pain. I know the pain of being with someone who doesn't really care about you and you're just working like a dog to get this person's attention. It's a familiar pain, but it's still familiar nonetheless. And so being here now and fully taking charge of my mind, you know, I had to really put aside my pride and get on some meds. I could tell my mind was trying to F with me and trying to destroy my relationships, like with my mom, my sister. That's always where my mind goes. It always goes to me against my family because they were not a safe place for me growing up, rightfully so. But now, instead of being hard on that part of myself, I've given it a little medication. And so, no, because there's a chemical imbalance. I'm not going to just act, and you can't coach your way through a chemical imbalance or a mental illness. I do all the things, right? I take all the vitamins, I walk, I eat right, I have great boundaries, but I just want everyone listening to know that it should not be this hard to feel good.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate you saying that too, because I have adult ADHD. And a lot of times I choose to go off medicine because, again, I'm very much like you. I walk, I take my supplements, I have mindful practices, I do yoga. Sometimes I don't have it in control, no matter how much I want to. There's that chemical imbalance. And then I go back on medicine, I get calm, and then I can go off again. But I love how you're almost giving permission for people to take care of themselves.
I mean, it's like, I understand the whole holistic healing thing, but science is still a beautiful thing. Like, ask your doctors the questions. Like, I asked my doctor, is this going to make me gain weight? Is this going to stunt my creativity? No and no. Okay, great. Awesome. We're on the lowest dosage of the medication that I'm on. And we are working with my thyroid because I have thyroid issues. So I'm taking great thyroid medication and we're working on the hormone side and not upping the mood stabilizer so I feel like all comatose. So I just love how my team of people who are supporting me, how they're so open to my way of doing things. It's like, I don't need this high dosage. I just need to do what I got to do and just get a little support. So.
Yeah, I love that. So as we wind down the interview, I have one more question and then I want you to share all your stuff with the listeners. So if someone took this concept of saying it out loud and having this external conversation with themselves, how could it empower their lives? We kind of talked about like maybe the darker side, but let's talk about the empowered side.
Yes. I mean, it's been dark, but it's okay. We got to go dark. And
that's fine. That's fine.
I wrote this somewhere because you asked, how will this impact other areas of your life? So I believe that we all have boldness within us. We just need to trust our words and trust ourselves to speak and to actually say those words out loud. So there are 3 wonderful things that happens. Or it's a 3-pronged approach. Okay, Becca. So when you talk to yourself and you know how to talk to yourself, which involves being aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your values, and aligning them with your actions and behaviors. When you know how to talk to yourself, it becomes easier to talk to others, right? Because effective communication skills are crucial in becoming and really tapping into your bold voice, right? It involves being able to express your thoughts, ideas, and opinions clearly and effective to others, and also being able to actively listen to others and understand their perspectives. How can you do that with another person if you do not even do that with yourself? How can you? If I cannot talk to myself and I am not kind to myself when I mess up, let's say, do you think I'm going to extend all of a sudden this grandiose compassion to somebody else who makes a mistake? No, we are stopped with others where we stop with ourselves. So where do you stop with yourself? That is where you are going to stop with another person. Or you stop with yourself being kind and compassionate, but you give it away to other people. You give so much of that to other people, then you're left feeling empty.
That's such a great point, because I feel that's so common and goes like it's a bypass point for people. So I love that you just clicked on that.
And then also, when you can talk to yourself, you can talk to others, you also will learn how to be able to share your ideas and energy in a group of people. So being able to influence and inspire a group of people requires a combination of confidence, charisma, and the ability to connect with others. Once again, if you have not witnessed your own confidence, your own charisma, and if you don't hear yourself saying things out loud, all of a sudden, when you're in front of people, you're going to feel like the words are literally not going to connect with your mind and body because you don't have the practice. So this helps with everything. Because
that was so awesome. Like, I feel like pumped. I'm like, yes.
Yes.
So, well, let's go ahead and share how the listeners can follow you and find your book.
Oh my God, thank you. Well, the book is available everywhere, but I would love your listeners to go to sayitoutloudbook.com. And you can pick any of the retailers. We're Target, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the places. And when you pre-order as many copies as you want, you can grab your bonuses over at that same page as well. And one of those bonuses is a book club where I will be walking everyone through the book over the course of 4 book club sessions in June. So that is what we're going to be doing. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And how can they follow you on social?
Go to my Instagram at my name is Vasavi is my handle. Feel free to send me a DM. If you love this episode, make sure you tag both Becca and myself. Use the hashtag Say It Out Loud. And yeah, please pre-order your copy of Say It Out Loud today. I can't wait to see you in the book club in June. Yeah.
Yes, I can't wait to share it with everybody too.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Vasavi, thank you so much for coming on the Empowered Half Hour. I know I'm definitely leaving feeling ready to talk to myself.
Yes, for real. We all need to. I mean, at least you know somebody's listening.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks again.